What's up, everybody? Welcome to 1207 Podcast, and welcome to 2025. It's the new year.
Right. We haven't seen y'all since last year.
I haven't seen y'all since last year.
And you haven't seen us since last year.
Definitely haven't seen us since last year. Um, yeah, let's just go ahead and get straight into it.
Yes.
Oh, first, before we get straight into it, y'all see these right here? These things back here? I put these up myself, and I'm very proud of me.
Yourself? So I ain't put these little things right here up.
He put the covers on, these little black things. Let me tell y'all what he did. This is what he did.
We gotta get straight into it.
He opened up the box. He opened up the box and saw all the little different little nails and different little bolts and all that kind of stuff. This is what he did. He said, "Sexy."
I ain't built for stuff like that.
Yeah. Now you can do cars and all that kind of stuff.
Nah, I'm sick of doing that too.
You sick of it, but that don't mean you can't do it.
I forgot.
Anywho, but anyway, I'm proud of myself because I put this stuff together.
I'm proud of you
myself.
too.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We had a studio in studio equipment. It'll be a little applause.
Little
thing.
applause going on.
Yeah.
I probably can add it some kind of way, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So diving straight into this. Today's topics. Today's subject is learning how to love. Of course, you're married. This should be a topic that you want to hear about. It should be a topic
or you're
that
wanting to get married, so this should be
Yeah.
a conversation that you should want to hear about to prepare you
Mm-hmm.
for what it is you're asking for.
It should be something that piques your curiosity for sure. So the idea is we want to use some words from 1 Corinthians 13 just to give you a model or image of what love truly is, because many people, when they look at that particular scripture, they only associate it to how we should love. But I think that it's actually an image of how God loves us.
Right.
And as we dive straight into it, you'll start understanding what we mean by that. But the key here is that we want to compare how God loves us individually to how we love our spouse. And see if the two images of our love, of God's love and our love, matches. That's our objective, right? He's the standard, and we're trying our best to reach those standards. But we talk about marriage in this particular setting, but in every area of our life.
Right.
All we can do is try, right? And so what does this mean? Right? What does learning how to love mean? Now, the first thing we want to consider is love suffers long and is kind. That's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Sexy got a lot to say about that S word.
I do.
Yeah.
That suffering word.
Yeah. Love suffers long. So let's ask the question. I mean, what is suffering?
So I was going to say, so first of all, I feel as though there needs to be a difference.
Talk up
There's
too,
a
Sexy.
difference.
Yeah.
You can't hear me? There's a difference between healthy suffering and toxic suffering. So for me, healthy suffering ultimately is when you have to die to self. All the time. Consistently. It's when you have to ask yourself the hard questions when it comes down to disagreement, situations. Healthy suffering is like walking around with a mirror that you're carrying, versus toxic suffering to me is like somebody else walking around with a mirror up against your face.
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is healthy suffering is when your spouse gives you the space and opportunity to grow, and for you to see, your flaws and see your mishaps and to learn from them and to grow from them, because they're also supposed to be doing the same. Whereas toxic suffering is as if someone is holding the mirror to your face, but they're also not seeing themselves. They only see you. You. You are always the issue. You are always the problem. It's never, reflecting. It's never turning back. So I guess my question for you to answer is give me an example of what healthy suffering looks like.
Okay. Uh, Healthy suffering would be when you're suffering with an end goal in mind,
Mhm.
which means that we deal with it all the time, like suffering financially, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes a person not really suffering financially to the point that they can't eat or drink or that they can't pay their bills. Some people are suffering to the point of finances because they're trying to prepare for something greater,
Mhm.
prepare for a trip, prepare to buy a house, prepare to buy a new car, prepare to put your kids through school.
Yeah.
And so you're saving money, you're preparing, and that causes a certain element of suffering.
Mhm.
And so when you suffering from their perspective, you're suffering with an end goal in mind. So when it says to suffer, suffering is dealing with something that's uncomfortable or unpleasant.
Uh-huh.
So when you're suffering, you're dealing with it, and with the season of, discomfort, is because I'm sure that there is something greater coming after this, or
Right.
there's something greater coming through this. So
Right.
as it relates to your marriage, things will not always be great. The honeymoon phase should always be going, but the
Mhm.
reality is sometimes it just stops.
There's seasons.
And you have to be able to deal with that level of unpleasantness
Mhm.
or discomfort or suffering, for the sake of, the word we're using. And you have to deal with that without trying to look for an exit out,
Mm.
because we got many different exits out, because you can exit emotionally or you can exit physically,
Mhm.
right?
And so, in other words, suffering does not have a time limit.
That's something to consider. I mean,
Healthy suffering
healthy suffering don't have a time limit.
does not
Okay.
have a time
I mean,
limit.
because, right,
Hear
it
me.
don't.
So
Yeah.
this is the reason why I say that. It's
Okay.
because ultimately healthy suffering should make you become more like Christ,
Hmm.
right? Within marriage, relationship, it doesn't matter. Just as a person, as an individual, healthy suffering should make you become more like Christ. And so, in keeping that in mind, when it comes down to you as an individual who's going through like what you be talking about, the sanctification process,
Hmm.
you're literally conforming into his image. So meaning it's something that's happening daily,
Hmm.
right? And so when it comes down to marriage, this is something that we are becoming one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this is something that is we are literally growing, healing, becoming better versions of ourselves because we're ultimately individually trying to become more like Christ. So we are growing
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
And so there's necessarily no ending to healthy suffering because if that's an ending to healthy suffering, that means somebody has stopped growing. Somebody has stopped trying. Somebody has stopped, putting in the effort to
Okay.
continue to make this
Okay.
a healthy marriage,
I see. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even when you think about your vows to death do us apart. And so for that to be a vow, I think I read it in that book we was reading. For that to be a vow, that ultimately means there's things that's going to come against the marriage to make that vow not true,
Hmm.
to make you want to step out on that vow.
Hmm.
So when we say to death do us part, that means come hell or hot water, healthy suffering. We're gonna go through this thing and we're gonna come out better and we're gonna come out greater. Because to me, I feel like healthy suffering it's not about just constantly going through things. It's about going through things well. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's like going through things well. Whereas when we used to be in this situation, we used to be talking at each other. Now here it is, we've learned how to communicate successfully, so it's not an argument. We just having a conversation.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not saying that you gonna not go through things. It's how you go through things. And I think that healthy suffering just allows you to build. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? To where now the marriage is just I mean, it's just healthy. You know what I'm saying? It's healthy, and you going through things the way that makes the marriage looks like Christ, how He loves us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think.
Okay.
Now, toxic. Gotta talk about the toxic.
Is it not toxic?
No, gotta talk about the toxic.
Oh.
I said
Oh.
now toxic
Oh, now toxic.
because since we are describing what love is, I feel like one of the reasons why people are stuck in relationships or stuck in situations is because they don't know what we are describing, which is they don't know what real love is. And so they stay in toxic situations because they don't know how this person is actually supposed to be loving them. They don't know the correct way to be loved. And so when it comes down to toxic, what are a few things that you feel as though are flags that, show that this is a toxic relationship?
What are a few flags that show that this is a toxic relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number one, an unclear conclusion. In other
Okay.
words, an unclear end goal,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if we haven't had the conversation to talk about why these conversations need to be had, or why this season shouldn't break us, or help us to understand that this is just a part of the process to get us to that thing, that
Mm-hmm.
said thing, whatever that thing is, whatever the end goal is. If it's unclear, it's probably because it's not a priority.
Mm.
Yeah. So if we haven't had the conversation to make what we're attempting to do set in stone and clear,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for me, it's me. I'm just coming from a man's perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly for a man, if I can make my intentions clear, if I can make my what I'm pressing towards visible,
Mm.
not just in other words, if I can't show you my vision,
Right.
maybe because I don't have one,
Mm.
and if
Ooh.
I don't have one, it's probably because you're not a part of it.
Yep.
That was heavy.
There was.
That was a lot.
That was.
Yes. And this how we help. This how me and her be talking at the house. I'll say something, and Janai be like,
Cause man.
"No, seriously."
Say
So
that one more time.
I'm not sure if I can say it the same way. I mean, that's
that
the
man
truth.
said,
Yeah.
if I can't see the vision clearly
Mhm.
when I'm with you,
Mhm.
must be because
Mhm.
you not a part
You're not
of
a
it.
part of the vision. Yeah.
You're not a part of
And
that
so I have
vision.
one. It's just tucked away
Mm.
in my own mind or in the corner of my own will
Mm-hmm.
that you would never get access to because I
Mm.
never want you to be a part of it anyways.
Exactly. Because my intent for
Mhm.
even coming into this relationship really wasn't to pursue
Mhm.
you with you being.
But hopefully that's not an issue of yours if you're already married. Now, if you listen to this podcast, you want to just fix your mind and listen to people
Mm-hmm.
who's talking about the subject of marriage because those are fields and waters. Those are waters you haven't swam in yet. I understand.
But you eventually want to jump in the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure
Yeah.
that y'all on the same page. Make sure he has enough care
Mm-hmm.
for you to tell you how he see you.
Mm.
Make sure you have enough care for you to tell you how he see the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Mm.
I mean, because if he can't do it, baby, so why you? What you think? How you see yourself in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, he's thought about it.
Mm.
Man, we can go there too. Listen, she's thought about it. Now, the fact that they can't articulate it to you
Right.
is because they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Mm.
Is because they are associated with you, not because they actually see a future with you, but they're associated with you because they quote unquote know you. You're comfortable to them. You,
Yeah.
but I don't want you to be with me because I make you comfortable. Be with me because you see a future with me, right?
Right, right.
That's how it should be.
And I just honestly feel like when it comes down to that process, right? You want to be with someone who brings out, you know what I'm saying, not necessarily the good in you, but brings out the growth in you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not meaning this in a way of, oh, when I be with him or when I be with her, I got to step my game up, but really it should make you want to be better. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't feel as though a characteristic when it comes down to being in a relationship, it shouldn't make you want to be complacent
Okay.
and make you want to just stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're in a relationship or in a marriage or whatever the case may be, and neither one of you are growing, you have to question that,
Mm.
because that means that someone is just dealing with you.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They just dealing with you,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually, that can lead to what's that R word? Resentment.
Mm.
That can lead to resentment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, ah,
Yeah. I mean, it's all a part. So let's get back to the initial question. So
mhm,
I feel like there's some more unpacking that can happen now.
yeah, because my mind just went somewhere. Go ahead.
So
No, ask the question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm talking about the question you asked me.
Right.
I'm trying to remember it like you said. If you
Oh, I was asking you what were the flags
the
to look
red
for when it
flags.
comes down to toxic
Okay.
relationships.
So number one was the if that person whoever it is can't make their vision clear to you, it's probably because you're probably not a part of
Because
their
you're probably
vision.
not in it.
So that's a
Mhm.
red flag. No vision, no future.
Mhm. And it makes you be be more intentional with what it is that you should look for. You know what I'm saying? Although that is a red flag, it should be a green one in another lane. Like
What you mean by that?
like if I'm seeing it after a few dates or whatever that he is not on that,
Mm-hmm.
like no vision, no nothing or whatever, then obviously this is not where I need to be spending my time,
Mm-hmm.
because this ain't gonna go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just like, it just kind of go back to what I was saying. I just feel like people just to be honest. People don't be honest, man.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, yeah. So back to the flags of the toxic
Okay.
relationships.
Red flag. Okay. No vision, no future.
No vision, no
I
future.
think number two could very easily be
I think
if he. Okay, go ahead.
I think another toxic flag when it comes down to love, relationships, and this also can apply to marriage, is when you have someone who habitually keeps doing things, negative things. And so that can be verbal and physical abuse. That can be um that can be cheating.
Mm-hmm.
That can be, just anything that goes against the principles of love, and they don't just make a mistake, they habitually
Mm-hmm.
keep doing it. I feel although that is toxic suffering,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people feel as though they have to put up
Mm-hmm.
with certain things with their spouse because of love, when in actuality this is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And this person is not willing to grow out of this toxic state.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so
So what do you think would be? Okay, two questions.
mhm,
Do you think it's a possibility to be in a toxic relationship? Both of y'all just toxic due to just behavior and
Mhm.
familiarity. Like that's what
Mhm.
y'all know to do.
Right.
That's how y'all know to communicate with each other. But do you think it's a such thing as both of y'all getting tired of this toxic situation and y'all can go from toxic to healthy? And if that is if that can happen, which I think it can,
Mhm.
what's the process? What's the steps that needs to be taken to change both of our minds,
Mhm.
change both of our terminology and our language towards each other? Like, what needs to happen for us to go from toxic to healthy? Because that that's a real thing. So,
The first thing I think needs to be is
hold on, I
account.
wasn't done talking.
Oh, I'm
Six.
sorry. Sorry.
I done.
I thought you was ending. Go ahead.
uh, we see all the time people who uh,
We
who
see all
started
the
off
time
toxic.
people. Mhm.
We see all the time people who started off toxic
Mhm.
but end up in marriage 30 years. Who started off possibly mm, hitting on each other, beating on each other, and they transition.
Mhm.
Who started off just in the gutters and mud holes and found themselves living a good life.
Mhm.
And so that transition in between uh, a toxic situation and a healthy situation, a toxic relationship and a healthy relationship, a toxic marriage and a healthy marriage.
Mhm.
Cause I think a good example be and like they voiced all the time when they tell their story, your mom and daddy.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't like it is now.
Right.
And when they started off, he was doing his thing, she was doing her thing. He was in and out of jail. She was in college. That's what they say. Well, your mom would say, "While he was in jail, I was in
I was in
college."
college,
Yeah,
or he was in
yeah,
college. Yeah.
huh?
That's what she be saying. She be calling college jail.
He was in another college.
Yeah. When I was
He
in college, he was in another
he was a, he was a,
college.
he was in a
He
CC
was locked up.
correctional
Right.
college. Yeah. So that is the thing. So what do you think the process is? Just one or two
Mhm.
to transition from toxic to healthy.
Okay. So of course, everybody's story is different, but the main two things that I feel as though, from what I have seen, like you said, I think that one of them is accountability. Both parties start becoming um, accountable. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, accountable for their actions. And so accountability would definitely be one. And then two, I honestly feel like both will have to want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of another word for want, but both will have to want it and be open for critique
Mm-hmm.
and not constantly being in victim
Mm-hmm.
mode.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the top two that comes to my mind.
Okay.
Besides, of course, on a spiritual side. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Besides that, of
Yeah, we
course, but
practical. Yeah, practical.
practically,
Yeah, like
it would definitely be
I think.
open.
Go ahead. No,
Uh-huh.
I think always having some kind of visible. Okay, have a visible and a verbal image of how you desire to see each other. So I'm not going to remind you of the
Mm.
toxicity of our past.
Mhm.
I'm only
Right.
going to remind you of the healthiness of our future.
Mhm.
And so having this
Ooh.
image,
Yeah,
this
that's a good one.
constant image, it can come as reminder that's not you no more.
Mhm.
Hold on now.
Mhm.
I'm not. I see you in your flesh. I'm not gonna get in mine because I
Mhm.
know, we know through past
Mhm.
experiences where that's gonna lead us to.
Is that what you be doing when you be talking to me like that?
Well,
Sexy, you getting in your flesh.
most definitely.
Sexy, you getting in your
Yeah,
flesh.
I mean because what happens, and sometimes you have to say that because as you get in your flesh, you pulling me to get in mine. So I had to say, hey, flesh, we getting that ain't no, because I'm starting to feel, I'm feeling it starting to, growl. It's starting to growl. I'm just like that's just not healthy, and that's why I sometimes
That's self-awareness.
Yeah.
So that should be like a third
Self
one.
awareness, okay. To know yourself.
To know yourself. That's self-awareness.
There's some conversations, trust me, I know this. I'm a testament to this. There's some conversations that needs to stop before it get too bad.
Right. For sure.
Get out your pride because you feel like you got points in your mind, or you said points in the past, previously in the relationship or in the conversation rather, that proves you to be right. And so you don't want to let this conversation go because you think you got the upper hand.
Right. Don't.
Oh gosh. You think you got the upper hand. Therefore, you saying, no, we're going to finish this today.
Right now.
But sometimes you have to have the awareness just to say, whoa, let's not continue this conversation today. Give us time to calm down, Give us time. It's not.
Yeah.
Again.
And that takes self-control.
Yeah.
Which is another characteristic of love.
Yeah.
It takes self-control because, as his eyeballs so lovely said, that is something that I deal with today.
My little mama might be around this joint. I be like, hey, sexy, I'm done with this conversation. No.
Because, okay, so hear me, okay? It's to me, and I could be wrong. Y'all drop it in the comments if your girl wrong, okay? Because we all in this together, okay?
What the guy we play? Am I tripping?
Am I tripping? Right. Am I tripping? Because to me, it's a certain way that you cut off the conversation, right? Now, like I said, I could be wrong, so this is my perspective. If we in a conversation and we in the meat of the conversation, and out of nowhere you be like, okay, I don't want to talk about this no more. Pause. Hold up. Who are you to decide that we're not going to talk about this no more? And we are in the meat of the conversation. We is in the grip of this conversation. So you're going to let it get to its peak and then be like, I don't want to talk about this no more. Sir, no, we finna finish this. We didn't got all the way up here. See now, me, I feel like it's cool to cut out the conversation if, you know what I'm saying, we get like on level 3. We like on level 3. Okay, cool. We ain't even got heated yet. We ain't even got in the meat of it yet. We still over here on the sides, okay? But when you start cutting into the steak, when you start cutting into the main course, and then you want to just be like, I don't want to have this conversation anymore.
Oh, gosh.
I don't want to have this conversation anymore. No, sir. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish it. So am I wrong? Am I wrong for wanting to finish the conversation once we have gotten into the meat of it?
So what this? I'm about to. Okay, she just said a lot, and now y'all see what I deal with, right?
Not I see what I deal with. Now y'all see what I deal with.
I'm finna.
We deals with each other.
I'm about to unearth. I'm about to unearth what you just said.
Okay, go ahead.
And what you just said just proved my previous point.
Okay.
Which was, once you think that you have a point that just is a point above all points, that is when you think that the conversation has reached its climax. And that's when I'm like, there's no turning back for you. There's no turning back for me if I dare keep going into this conversation. So let's cut this off. We ain't going nowhere. But that point you have, it's like, no, I got you. Let's do this. And I'm like, no, because after you say that point, I think of something, and it just makes it worse. It's going downhill. I said, let's start this over. Let's do this another day. Let's talk about something else. And what's so interesting about that is that 90% of the time, the conversation started off talking about something so small that by the time we have by the time we have dug up this grave, we realize we really don't have nothing to bury. The conversation was
Okay,
so
with your analogies and
small.
stuff,
The
like
I'm talking about the conversation be so small. It's just like I'm trying to think of one that just recently. What? I'm trying to think of one that just
you
recently
need to
happened.
get better with your archive,
Um, uh, uh, um,
cause I can come up with it.
I just know some hypothetically, but it probably actually happened though. So okay, okay, let's go. Let's do this. I got one. I don't mind washing the dishes.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I love as I wash the dishes how clean my nails are. I love cleaning the kitchen. Like I have my reasons. They may be weird. So, right?
Mhm.
I have my reason. And I can wash the dishes for 2 weeks straight. I don't care. I'm get it in, Not saying that it's every day like it should be, but it's every other day, whatever case will be, depending on how life going, how work going. And I can watch this and don't say nothing. Listen, she'll sit there at least the boys eat waffles and pancakes and turkey bacon and eggs and then leave syrup all over the doggone plate. But the moment she wash the dishes 2 days in a row or 2 times in a row, bae, you need to start washing your dishes out. And so that caused me to be
Rinsing.
like, so when I'm washing dishes, I don't complain about you and how you just leave stuff on the counter and leave stuff in the sink. But with the moment you start washing dishes, then everybody else needs to start straightening up.
Hmm.
Everybody else needs to rinse out their dishes. You pretty much got to pre-wash before she wash.
I always rinse my stuff out. Now the boys
Oh
don't.
gosh.
The boys don't. You have me there.
Okay.
However,
The
I
boys
rinse
most
my
definitely don't. The boys,
They
boy,
don't. They just sit they stuff there and they just going on. They think they got maids in the house. But you are correct. You are correct. This is growth, people.
okay.
This
Listen,
is growth. You are correct. That was a great example. But I have since then, what was that, some months ago? I have since then gotten better with that. But that's an example of self awareness
Mhm.
when it comes down to you wanting the relation. If both of you all are wanting the relationship to become better, you got to be okay
Mhm.
with the mirror being in your face. Not saying that he's like, this right here and he ain't got one right here. I'm saying you have to be okay with your spouse pointing out to you a trait of yours that is not healthy. Like you have to be okay with it, and you can't be ready to defend why you do what you do. You have to be ready to change. You have to be ready
Mhm.
to conform. You can't. Don't make excuses for it. Don't try to make up reasons why you do what you do. We know why you do what you do. That ain't neither here nor there. What we gonna do now to make this better?
Mhm.
What we gonna do now to change this? Okay, and so we gonna see y'all on the next episode because our time out. So
Let's end it at least a little bit better. I like the ending.
I don't know how to end it.
I mean, let's wrap it back around.
So
Suffering
suffering.
is long. In other words, is that when it's saying it's long, it's not saying deal with toxicity for a long time.
Mhm.
What it's saying is when you're dealing with healthy suffering, sometimes it takes a long time. But the
Mhm.
long time should not cause you to want to quit or give up because you understand that I'm suffering for a purpose. And the
Mhm.
purpose is so I can be the best that I can be and my spouse can be the best that they can be and we can be our best together.
Mhm.
That is what suffering offers.
Yeah. Both people
Both people.
doing that, not just one.
Yeah.
Both.
So we will see y'all next time.
Now we can end it.
Yes.
That was okay. So I just shouldn't just be like, okay, cut off.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Just sum this thing all up. Bring it back around.
All right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
See y'all later.